What's up, everybody? So if you have an on-prem solution that you want to shift to a cloud SaaS solution, here's how you do it commercially. Okay, so this is one of the issues that it's a lot of the projects I do for clients, but it's also one of the issues I hear a lot of potential clients and partners out there in the market are actually afraid to tackle. So it can be something like, well, we have a very solid business. We're making, let's say, 50 to $100 million a year on our technology, but it's delivered as an on-prem with the traditional model that we will sell you a perpetual license, and then we will sell you, let's say, 20 or 25% of that perpetual license as maintenance fees for a, let's say, 4 or 5 year contract, at the end of which we will try to renew you, sell you a new perpetual license because a new version came out and it's much better and we actually changed something and la la la, and then, or at least renew the service contract, right? So you get this revenue model on a customer where in a year it's big because you sell the license, and then it sort of trickles off with the service model, and then every now and again you get sort of the big cash lump sum again, and then you move through versions and generations of your product going forward. That is bad because you accrue a lot of both technical and commercial debt. Technical debt, old code stacks on top of each other. Commercial debt, old contracts and agreements on top of each other. Okay, so the issue with changing to the SaaS model is actually best put by Thomas Law, who's the CEO of Technology Service Institute of America. He came up with something called the FISH model, which is super simple. So go Google that. It basically says, well, if you want to do the change from on-prem to cloud and SaaS, your costs will go up for a time period because you will now have to develop two products. You have to maintain your existing one, and you have to build the new SaaS product. And your revenues will go down because you don't get that big lump sum. Every now and again, you'll actually have to shift it over to recurring revenue, which is more stable. So the big sort of cash payout years on individual clients is gone. So you will have a decline in revenue, and this sort of increase in cost and decline in revenue sort of forms a fish shape. And then we're talking about how to eat the fish. So I have been sitting in conference rooms in more times than I can count, talking about how to eat the fish. Well, can we make the fish smaller? And can we make the fish an eel? So like not that big, but long, stretch it out in time. Or how do we kill do we have to eat the fish? All these things. And I think it's a silly discussion, to be honest, because yes, the underlying situation is there that the cost side you have to deal with. If you want to create something new and you have accrued technical debt, there's no way around it. You need to invest to get past that. But on the revenue side, I think people are fooling themselves because often what happens is something like this. So let's just, for the ease of the math, say that you sell a perpetual license for 100. And they say that you have a 4-year service contract for 25%. So 25, 25, 25, 25. And then over a 5-year period, so year 1, when you sell it for 100, and then the subsequent 4 years when you sell it for 25, you have a cycle lifetime value of that client of 200, right? So 100 plus 4 times 25. Okay, and let's say that you have in a cycle a total of 5 clients. So that means that, because just for the ease of sake, that you will have any given year, you will have one big lump sum of 100 and 4 maintenance and service fees of 25 for total revenue of 200. And you go along like that. So if you then change into a SaaS model, what most people assume is going to say, well, we have a solution today and we're going to have a solution tomorrow, and we're essentially just maybe lifting it into the cloud and doing something. So maybe we don't want to be overpriced because we don't want to lose the clients. So what we're going to do is we're just going to charge the same. So they're going to say, okay, 5-year basis, 200 divided by 5 years equals 40 a year. So the SaaS license is going to be 40 a year. So instead of paying 25 for the maintenance, you pay 40, but you don't have to pay the big lump sum once every 5 years. Okay, so what that means is that any given year when you had expected to get 100 in on a lump sum, now you just get 40. That means that your revenue drops from 200 to 140. So it drops 60. Bad news. This is the fish model as sort of it is feared and envisioned. Now, what people don't realize is that you don't have to only convert the new customers. you have the whole legacy base, all the 25 maintenance fees that you can convert as well. So really how these sort of fish models work out is that people are just too afraid of touching existing legacy contracts, and they drag it out over too much time, instead of saying, well, what if I, one, created a SaaS product that actually was in some ways better, and then repriced the product. So instead of charging 40 a year, maybe I could charge 50. And if I could charge 50 of all my existing 5 clients, I would actually go from 200 in revenue to 250 in year 1 if I can just convert my whole legacy base at once into the SaaS solution. So if you start to envision your new SaaS product as a way to increase the value add and then sell that value to your customers, suddenly you have a scenario where you don't need to go from 200 to 140, but you actually have the potential to go from 200 to 250 or even more. This gets even more powered up by the fact that often the SaaS solutions take on internal cost from the customer onto your solution. So just by that nature, the revenue will actually grow. So before the customer had on-prem servers, now you have cloud servers, so you need to get paid for those, and so forth. Sometimes the costs I've seen costs 10x just because we actually took on internal costs and put them on our P&L instead of on the customer's P&L, and the customers were fine with it because it was obvious that the cost would go away on their side, and we would now lift them over to the vendor side, right? So what I see often is that the fish exists because we think that we cannot increase the annual contract value with the customers, while in fact, the annual contract value with customers often 3 to 6x as we create these SaaS migrations, for 2 reasons. One, because the product actually, hopefully because you invested in it, is more valuable. And 2, because we lift costs from the customer's P&L into our own P&L. These things combined will actually create a price increase. And then the cash flow and the revenue dip on year 1 when you make the changes can be offset if you go back into the customers who have legacy service contracts and change them over faster than they would normally be up for renewal. So this is the simple and straightforward way to think about how you might approach eating the fish. There is no fish because there is no decrease in revenue. So essentially what you're just going to have is you're just going to have your revenue now and your costs now, and they go along, and suddenly they both increase for a while. And then after a while, hopefully your cost will decrease, but your revenue will keep going up, or at least be high. So this is just the basis of it. And if you do it right, what you'll get is a better product, but you'll also get a better platform from where to deliver product ongoingly on recurring contracts with your customers, which, if you do it right, should produce less technical debt over time and less commercial debt over time. This is partly a mentality shift in most businesses, but this is also where the margins and the profitability lies in the long run. So if you get the change right, you will have a much easier way to deliver and sell and price the product to your customers, which will provide for more value over time. So it's a cleanup process. You clean up all the technical debt, you clean up all the commercial debt, and then you have better margins. I don't know why people fear the fish. I think it's because they haven't done the math, or simply because they do not trust their CFOs. So they only see costs. So they do not trust the commercial power in the market of bringing a new offering in there and saying, well, of course we can reprice customers if the proposition makes sense. And if customers are on an old on-prem solution paying 25, and we would just shift them into a new SaaS solution, which is better because we took care of making a better product that we relaunched with less technical debt and so forth, and we're repricing them based on that, why wouldn't they say yes? And if we really need to, we can grease the wheels a little bit, offer them free migration or reduced cost migration or some sort of that. Most people would be willing to do that. Often you even have external circumstances like Microsoft is closing down a product for some servers or whatever it is, and they have to make a change. Don't be too afraid of this, and don't see yourself as caught in the fish model. I think the fish model to a large degree is an illusion, based on the fact that you actually are not repricing the product, one, and two, that you can't actually tap into the legacy customers sooner than they're up for normal renewal. Okay, take care, guys. I hope this makes sense to you. I've done, I don't know, 20 of these projects. We have never failed. So always the repricing, the revaluing has actually been successful in everything from the airport sector to utilities to defense to satellites to construction to agency work. Um, it's not a sector thing. Everybody actually wants the ongoing smooth delivery of solutions to them. And if the value is there in the product, they're also willing to pay for it. It's mostly an operational task making this shift. It's actually the commercial part, the part in the market, will actually sort itself out if you no do the work and take care of it. But that is not the sort of the obstacle in and of itself. That can be worked, and there is a clear roadmap, I think, for how to actually work it that makes sense also in Excel. So I hope it makes sense to you. I hope you can do sort of a little bit sort of back of napkin math on your own product and see how it could actually work if you made this assumption. Okay, take care. Bye, guys.